the intercepts of a graph. And so now we'll learn a second way of graphing these equations. But first, let's look at what an intercept is. So these are points at which the graph intersects or touches the x and y axis. We call them intercepts. The x-intercept is the x-coordinate of a point where the graph intersects the x-axis, and the y-intercept is where the graph intersects the y-axis. And then we also call something called the zero. A zero is the x-coordinate of a point where the graph intersects the x-axis. Notice that it's the same definition as number 2. So these are the same definition. And so we call them x-intercepts or zeros when they're crossing the x-axis. So example 5, identify the x-intercepts, y-intercepts, and the zeros. So the x-intercept is where the graph crosses the the x-axis. So this is my x-axis here. And notice that the graph is crossing at 2. And so this point here is 0 and 2. The y is 0, and then we have a 2. And then the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So here is our y-axis. And notice that the point is at 0, negative 2. Okay, so this is 0, negative 2. And I wrote this incorrectly. This should be 2 and 0. Okay, and then the 0 is also this x-intercept. So that's going to be the same as your x-intercept, which is at 2 and 0. And so we go to the next one. Here we have 2 x-intercepts, and they're both located at, well, one is located at 1 and 0 right here, and the other is located at negative 3 and 0. And then the y-intercept is going to be this point up here, which is at 0, positive 3. And then your zeros are going to be the same as the x-intercepts. This is a different name for them, but they're the same. And then on the next example, we have that the x-intercept is at 0, 0. Notice that's the same one for the y. And then the 0 is the same. Here, this is your x, this is your y. So the x-intercept, notice that the graph does not cross the x-axis. So we say that there's no or none x-intercepts. And then the y-intercept is located here, which is at 0 and 2. Since there's no x-intercepts, the zeros is the same. The graph does not cross the x-axis, so this is none. Okay, notice that in all the x-intercepts above, here's my x-intercepts. The value for y is 0. And notice that then the y-intercepts, the value of x is 0. So to find the x-intercepts, we're going to let y equal 0. To find the x-intercept, we let y equal 0 and solve for x. To find the y-intercept, we let x equal 0 and solve for y. So that's how you find these intercepts. So for example, it says find the x and the y-intercept. So first I'm going to find the x-intercept. So the steps are to let y equal 0 and solve for x. Okay, so your equation is y equals 3x minus 2. We're going to let y equal 0 and solve for x. So I'm going to add 2 on both sides. So x is 2/3. So my x-intercept is 2/3 and 0. And now I'm going to find the y-intercept. So for the y-intercept, we let x equal 0 and solve for y. So x is 0. So 3 times 0 is 0. So we get -2. Okay. Then if you need to, you can plot some additional points. But you're going to see in the next section is that since this is going to be a line, you really just need 2 points. So we have 0, -2, which is right here. And then we have 2/3 and 0. So that's going to be somewhere in here. And then we can graph the line. Okay, so let's try example 7. We'll find the x-intercept first. So for the x-intercept, remember we're going to let y equal 0. So notice they have x's in common, so I can factor out an x. And I can use a 0 product property. So I can say x is equal to 0 and 0 is equal to -x minus 5, which means I can put these factors equal to 0. This is going to still be x equals 0. I'm going to add 5 on both sides and divide by -1. So we get two x-intercepts. So x is 0 when y is 0, and x is -5 when x is 0, when y is 0. So the y-intercept so here we let x equal 0. So y is 0. So plot these points, 0, 0, -5, which is right here. And so you only get 2 points. So here we need more points to help us know what the graph is going to look like. So I want to know what happens between these 2 points. So if x is -1, let's plug that in. -1 squared is +1 times negative is -1. Negative is positive. So we get 4. And if I plug in 2, -2, we get -2 squared is 4 times negative, and this would be +10. So we get 6. Okay, so -1 is 4, and -2 is 6. So somewhere up here. And then -3 is the last one. So -3 squared would be 9. Times negative is -9 plus 15. So we get 6. So this is going to be a parabola that goes up and then it comes down. Okay. So again, If the graph is not aligned, then that's important to have these extra points.